Alright, so I'm going to show how to open up and disassemble this Lenovo IdeaPad 320-15 IKB Touch, and then it says model name 81BH. Alright, so first what we're going to do is get a PH1 or JAS1 screwdriver and remove all the screws from the bottom. Keep them in order because they can be different size, shapes, and lengths. Alright, so it's kind of important you want to keep the same ones together. Alright, the way I do that is I put them in the pattern that I remove them. So if you see 4 across the top, then you go down 1 row, then you see another like 4 or whatever, and I just try and keep that pattern. So you see how it kind of makes these weird like shapes. That's what I do to keep them in order. Okay, so I just put them on my desk like that. If the screws get stuck, you might have to use a magnet to get them out, but yeah. Alright. If you're just going to take out the optical drive or the CD drive, you actually only need to take out this one screw here. After you do that, you can get your fingernail here and just go up and down as you kind of pull outwards, okay? And just keep doing this. It'll slowly wiggle the CD drive out, just like that. You don't want to just yank it real hard, or you can actually damage the bezel or whatever you would call this piece. Alright, so we'll set that aside. Continue taking out the screws. It looks really dusty here, so I have a feeling this laptop overheated. They said it's not turning on anymore. I don't know if it's going to be repairable because usually that's a fried motherboard. But anyways, of course, while you're opening this, you want to make sure your computer is off if you didn't already. Hopefully you already did. But yeah, remove all the screws. Alright. After you do that, flip it over or open it up. Alright, and then you can see there's the gap here. So usually the way I remove these covers is either I'll get my fingernails in from this side and push on the palm rest, or go the opposite side depending which way the clips go. And I think the clips go the other way, so we're going to turn the computer around. Get your fingernails in the gap, alright, and then on the back just use your thumbs and push the cover. Alright, so here you can see it comes off really easily. If you don't have fingernails, I recommend you let them grow out slightly just to do this, or you can try using plastic pry tools if you have them, but I find this works the easiest, okay? You just get around, alright, same thing, get through to the side, and same, just push on it just like this. Okay, so here you can see it's coming up, and you go over to the other side, same thing, pull it up just like that. Alright. Then once you get the sides, hopefully the back will just kind of wiggle off, just like this. If it's caught, you might have to kind of like pull up on it or something, but there we go. And we got the cover off. So here you can see this whole vent is clogged with dust, and then there's dust here. But I'm going to clean that off. I just use a toothbrush and scrub it off. So anyway, since it's not turning on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to disconnect the CMOS battery here. Let me zoom in so you can see better. So you just get under there. Alright, sorry. And then with the wings, I just kind of wiggle it. And there you go. And then same thing with the other battery. So there's a standard battery. Then you got the laptop battery here. Let's see, is there a model number on this battery? Here you go. So the model number is right there, L16C2PB2. Alright. If you're replacing just the hard drive or the RAM, you don't need to worry about taking out the batteries or anything. I'm just doing this because I'm trying to reset their computer, but I'm going to remove the battery first, okay? Again, if you're just doing the hard drive and RAM, you can kind of skip straight to the hard drive and RAM. You don't need to remove the batteries. It does make it a little safer to work on, but you don't need to do that, okay? Alright, so remove the 2 screws on the left side of the battery. There's 1 screw in the middle up here, and then we got 1 more screw on this side. Okay, so remove all those screws. Once you remove those screws, let me zoom out to make this easier to see. There we go. Then we should be able to lift the battery up like this. Okay, you want to lift up from the back side, and then to get this cable out, what I do is I kind of, if I can get my finger underneath the cable, I would, but I can't. So in this case, what I do is I hold it up, and then I kind of just wiggle the cable like side to side to try and remove it. If you can use like your fingernails on the edge of the connector and then wiggle it out just like the CMOS battery, just like this. Here you can see, and eventually it pops out. Okay, So there we go, that's the battery. Set that aside. Alright, so the RAM, there's only one stick of RAM here, so you can only upgrade so far. It is DDR4 or PC4, and it looks like there's RAM soldered underneath. But anyways, you got an 8 gig stick here. This is PC4 2666V. So if you want, stick with PC4 2666V, but you can get 8 gig, 16 gig, or whatever they have available. Alright, so we're going to put that back in. Alright, if you're going to mess with the LCD or LVDS connectors up here, what you want to do after disconnecting the main battery, which is the battery that we pulled out down here, you don't need to remove the CMOS or the BIOS battery, but open up the computer. Alright, do it slowly because you don't have all the screws holding the hinge, and then press and hold the power button for 10 to 15 seconds. That will drain any power from the capacitors and things like that and prevent you from causing any damage to the backlight circuit. Right, so just hold that 10 to 15 seconds, and then when you close it, you kind of want to use the hinges. Like, I use my thumbs on the hinges. I don't know if I can show this. Let me zoom out some more. Okay, so what I do is I use my thumbs on the hinges like this, and I use that to help push it closed. Okay, and that's to prevent damaging the hinge mounts. Alright, then you got the hard drive here. So it looks like the hard drive is just mounted in with a rubber piece. So you just go from this side. You do have to push the center of this because there's a little clip or latch, whatever, that grabs onto this little white piece of plastic here. So push that middle one in, and then you can lift it up just like this. Be careful because this cable is connected here. If you want, you can actually, while you have it slightly up like that, it is in a little slot, so you can kind of wiggle the hard drive as you pull it back to disconnect it. Okay, just like that. And there we go. We got the 2.5-inch SATA hard drive out. You can upgrade this with an SSD, but you'll want to either clone your hard drive to the SSD first, or install Windows Clean onto the SSD. So this bracket comes off. You just pull these things out to the side, and then you can actually take the hard drive out of this bracket, and you'll want to transfer this over to whatever drive you're replacing it with. Okay, so again, make sure pop that out. The sides at the bottom are a little tough because they're attached at the corners here. But yeah, just pull that out and you can take it out. Alright, I'm going to put this back in because I don't need to replace their hard drive. I do recommend upgrading to SSD if your computer is just using a regular hard drive. But the customer brought it because it's not turning on, so I'm not going to mess with that. Alright, and then just slide this back in. Make sure the connector lines up properly. Okay. Alright, and then once you get it lined up, you can push it back in and then push this back down. Make sure that little plastic piece goes back underneath. Alright, you got the optical drive connector here. It's removable. If you want, you can put a hard drive adapter instead of the CD drive if you don't really care about the CD drive, but I'm going to leave that as is. And you got the trackpad cable here. The SATA cable for the hard drive here. To remove these, there's a little latch. You just flip them. I'll show on the keyboard one because it's the easiest. This is the keyboard connector, but you just flip that little latch up and then you can pull the cable out. But I'm going to flip that back down. To be safe, it's always good to like slide your finger over the latch to kind of push it back down, so like this, because sometimes if you try and just like move it over, if you pull the connector out sideways, it can come off. Alright, you got the fan connector here. Same thing like the BIOS or CMOS battery. You just get under the connector and just keep wiggling it as you pull. And keep going. Don't try and yank it up really hard or you can break it. And once you keep wiggling it, it'll eventually pop out. Alright? Just like that. We'll put this connector back in. You got the the CPU heatsink radiator here. The CPU is soldered to the board, so you can't upgrade it. But that looks like that's pretty much it. Also, that's pretty interesting. The charge port, they put screws into it, but it's soldered to the board, so they secure it with some screws, which is interesting. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Well, other than I forgot the speaker here. They connect this one connects over here to this speaker, and then it plugs into the board here. But yep, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna clean this up and see if you have the issue where it's not turning on, like not powering on at all. You can do a BIOS reset or CMOS reset when you disconnect all the batteries, and then just get something metal or conductive to touch the two pins together. Be careful not to touch anything else here because you can damage it, though once you drain the power by holding the power button, there's very low risk, but to be safe you don't want to drop conductive metal stuff onto the board. Alright, so just touch those two pins together. That should drain the BIOS or CMOS battery. But yeah, if that doesn't fix it and it still doesn't turn on, then you're most likely going to have to replace the motherboard. Alright, anyways, I'm going to put this thing back together after I clean out the dust, and I'll see you guys in a bit. Alright, I'm back. So we're going to put the battery back in, and hopefully everything is good. So when you put the battery, you want to get the connector in first, and then squeeze the connector and the connection on the board together, and then we'll just line this all back up. Alright, and put back all the screws. Alright, make sure you get the right screws. And that's pretty much it. We're just going to snap everything back together. Hopefully this video helped you guys. If it did, please like and subscribe. Help others find my videos. Thank you for watching. You're welcome to stay while I put back the cover and everything. But we cleaned out all the dust, so I don't know. I think their laptop probably overheated. We'll see if it turns back on afterwards. And basically just put everything back together and snap it all back in place. Go back around. Okay, and just snap it all back in. There we go. If you had any little USB things, just plug them back in, of course. And we'll put back the screws. Don't forget the CD drive or the optical drive, of course. You just slide that back in, just like that. Alright. All the screws. Make sure you have the CD drive in before you put back that screw, or it won't go in right. Alright. Alright, and that's pretty much it. Again, please like, subscribe, help others find my videos. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Alright, bye.